Chapter 22. Snape's realization and news of hurt. Snape's point of view after he left the hospital wing. Not being able to contain myself, I ended up leaving the hospital wing with Miranda and the others still there. I left because I was getting weak. Yeah, I'm a coward. The only one who has been was Albus, and he knows that. I became weak because of Miranda. She's affecting me. I didn't want either of them or her to see me upset, as it was the last thing I needed to destroy my reputation. I couldn't let anyone bear to see me get weak. I know I may appear heartless to leave her that way, but I couldn't stay any longer in that room. I couldn't stand to see her that way, and deep down, it bothered me. I cannot bloody believe she did that to herself, and I didn't even bother to figure it out sooner or check my storage to put the puzzle pieces together. Probably 'cause you're one of the reasons why she tried to poison herself with potions, you moron, is what my mind said as I got to my personal room and sat in my chair. Obviously, I felt sorry for Miranda because she doesn't have a dad or a stepfather much anymore, since it's likely he'll die. I know it seems like I don't care, but deep down, I do. She doesn't really even have much of a family besides Granger's mother and Granger herself. The way she looked when I saw herself lying unconscious next to a mess of potion concoctions in the girls' bathroom with Albus was heartbreaking. Her breath was shallow, and her face was pale. She even gasped for breath a few times, and when I picked her up to carry her to the hospital wing, I noticed a small cut on her arm. When I last saw her in the hallway, I knew I was getting out of control. I didn't realize it at the moment, but now I've truly realized it. I only wanted to hurt her enough so she doesn't have feelings for me anymore. It was never my intention after the obvious situation I got myself into to truly hurt her anymore. I didn't mean to partly be of the cause of her doing something so reckless. Even though I'm part of the reason, even though Albus and I know without her having to say it. Now, I regret saying some of the things I said to her, like, I loved Lily all of my life more than I can ever love her. In a way, that wasn't fully true though, because I've now grown to have deep feelings for Miranda, something I thought I wouldn't feel again. I'll have love and care for Lily Potter always, but the way I've come to feel for Miranda is nothing like I've ever experienced before. I've been partly saying and doing these things so neither of us would feel the opposite way, and things would go back to being a student and teacher. Not to mention, I don't currently like the idea of Miranda trying to date Potter or whatever they're doing. I thought they were friends, so why would she go to him? My jealousy got worse when I saw her and that insolent brat holding hands at lunch. I was getting jealous and fuming as I had tried hard to control myself. This was while I had known that Miranda kept staring at me. I knew right away that she felt and saw what I was feeling from the constant staring, and I was trying to hide it. I knew completely that it was bad and wrong to forcefully kiss her and all of that with her friends around, but I couldn't help myself. I felt that another part of me was saying to do it anyway and didn't care about the consequences that would follow. It was almost like that moment wasn't really me at all, a different part of me that's unknown. What is this girl doing to me? It's so wrong to feel like this and act a certain way, thinking that if I act the opposite, she would lose her feelings, that I would lose the feelings. It's wrong to want her, crave her, and I shouldn't. One look and one touch is all it takes for her to change me in unexpected ways. I shouldn't want her to start to think about what it will be like to try a relationship with her or give in to my feelings. But yet, at the same time, her lips feel good every time I kiss her. Her body looked, and her breasts so firmly placed that they were growing with age. Her curved young body makes the shape look almost like an hourglass that'll continue to blossom as she gets older. The way she smiles all the time and that light laugh, I could easily hear from a mile away. And those green puppy dog eyes that get me lost and hypnotized. She may be petite for her size, but to me, she's perfect. Almost reminds me a bit of Lily, and the way her red hair flows when she walks. The way her behind looks as she moves is not big, but also not flat or small. Attractive for anyone to notice if they stare long enough. Her lips are always planted nicely, looking so soft all the time that it makes me just want to kiss her forever. Ugh, no, stop. I really have to stop thinking like this and acting this way and staring deep into her. It is bad for me and inappropriate for a teacher like me who has a crush on a student I teach and someone with whom I would want a relationship. At the same time, as Albus says, love is love, and if two people have a connection, that cannot be denied. He knows more than anything how wrong this is, yet he can also see the connection between me and her that's starting to become undeniable. In a million ways, it can be wrong altogether to be with her. Besides, I am also too old for her, as I'm twice her age and can be dangerous to be around. I already hurt her once badly in the past. Who says I can't accidentally do it again? I've made a lot of mistakes and have been involved with the Dark Lord. Yet deep inside, I knew Miranda wasn't just a student. Somehow I kept saying one thing or thinking or doing the opposite of what I truly feel. To me, she is more than a student. Miranda is beautiful, intelligent in all her classes, funny, sweet, charming, lovable to a lot of people, and caring to anyone she meets. She thinks more of others and puts others first before herself. She's selfless. I really admire how she doesn't listen to what people say about herself or even me. It reminds me a bit of myself a little in the way of how I used to be once upon a time. She gets upset when something hurts her badly or does something to her, and it takes time for her to forgive. I know that I sometimes, especially lately, have hurt her. She also has a sensitive side that makes her vulnerable. Overall, everything about her to me is what makes her special in my eyes. She is the most amazing girl I've come across in my years of teaching. In a way, it's good she wasn't placed in Slytherin when she first got sorted. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been good on my part. I definitely wouldn't have been able to stay away from her at this point, and she would have been the same way if we were in the same house. You know you love her, Severus. Why do you keep doing these things that keep hurting Miranda? Stop playing games and be man enough to say the truth. Screw the consequences. This is what I feel like my heart would be saying to me by now. Maybe I should stop completely thinking with my mind and start listening to my heart. I sigh sadly, starting to regret the talk I had with Miranda when I said that she should get over me. After that day of telling her that, she was getting hurt more and more. I regretted telling her after she found out about her Mongol stepfather. I guess it was really selfish of me. I honestly don't recall some of the things I said or did. It's like I completely block myself out and don't think of anything or any consequences whatsoever. I was already thankful that Miranda forgave me for doing what I did to her on that fateful day. But we're not going to in the discussion about that. Yet at the same time, I knew she was upset with me, and she chose to forgive me despite her anger. That night when I made love to her and she lost her virginity, it was a magical moment, like it seemed right. I've wanted that special feeling with a woman, and it seemed to ease my cravings a little bit. Yes, I've had some painful one-night stands, some of which I deeply regret, but I wasn't so innocent in the sexual department either. I know it wasn't good for me and Miranda to make love, but we both wanted it. We both enjoyed it, and I knew she wanted more by the look she sometimes would give me in class as I would stare back at her. I will admit that in the sexual department, I do know how to please a woman well. In a way, somehow, Albus knows how I truly feel about her, and tells me I shouldn't deny it either. He knows all. I'm starting to believe that Albus also knows deep down I've come to care for and even possibly love Miranda. For a long time, I kept debating that I didn't love her in that way, which I knew was starting to become a lie. Now, I'm realizing I'm growing weaker as I try to bait myself away from her. On her birthday, when I was forcefully kissing Miranda, I noticed that Potter appeared to be jealous as if he was about to explode with anger. I guess that fool likes her in some way after all. I wonder how she's doing now after what occurred. I suddenly walked away because of how bad she looked, and it caused me to almost explode with hatred and cry my eyes out. Maybe I should go back to the hospital wing and see if she wants to talk to me. So I did, and once I got there, I noticed that it was quiet. Almost too quiet. But I did hear faint talking. I silently looked into the room without being noticed and found Miranda sitting up in bed as Miss Granger was talking to her. I knew by now from her how close they were since they've known each other since they were young. Not to mention, Granger's parents adopted her too, which is how Miranda got close to Granger. I decided to listen in to see if I could visibly hear some of their conversation without disturbing them. Miranda, I need to tell you something, but please don't get too upset and get up and walk away. Granger's voice sounded scared and worried. Miranda nodded and responded, I can't leave right now anyway, Hermione. Go on, tell me, what is it? Granger took a deep breath. Earlier this week, when I was walking, when I turned a corner, I saw Harry, and he was talking to Cho Chang from a distance. Cho seemed upset or something with Harry, I'm not sure. I did hear him say no at some point. I turned my head for a minute, hiding because I thought Cho saw me. When I looked again, I saw her kissing him, and I don't know why, considering she's been hanging with Cedric lately. She stopped and looked at Miranda, who looked angry, sad, and was about to burst completely. She looked hurt and bothered. I started to feel bad for her. I whispered silently, "Please don't cry." Tears formed her eyes, and Granger pulled her into a tight hug. Miranda stated, "I don't understand why that would happen. Is it because she knows how Harry feels and is trying to get back at me because of me and Harry? I don't understand any of this." Granger responded, "I'm sorry you're going through so much. You don't deserve it. I'm sure Harry is innocent and didn't try to do anything. He wouldn't do that to you, Miranda. He cares about you." Miranda sighed. "I know he does. Don't be sorry, sis, it's fine. It isn't your fault or his, but she'll pay one way or another somehow. I won't let this go. I don't care how sweet she tries to be." "I mean, you and Professor Snape have dealt with enough, and the things that happened were bad. I know he is troubled, Miranda, but I think Snape wouldn't mean to hurt you. On the other hand, you and Harry, with what you're trying to be, could be false and be better off as friends. I could be wrong, but at least it's better to explore than finding out than nothing at all." She looked at Miranda, and Miranda looked at her. Granger continued, "Maybe with Harry, it could be because of all the pressure with the tournament, and I'm scared for him. I'm not sure, though, since he's been distant off and on. If you want my opinion, I would rather you take a shot with Snape than Harry, Miranda. Only because a relationship could ruin the friendship, and I don't want that to happen. But that's just my opinion. Honestly, Harry's under pressure and stressed, because if you know who comes back, and it would be hard to believe, you and Harry will be in danger. And who would Professor Dumbledore put in charge to protect you? Professor Snape. The way Snape looks at you in potions, declares and stares. I mean, Miranda, face it. You and him are falling for each other. Me, Ron, the twins, Neville, Ginny, and Professor Dumbledore can see it. Why can't you two?" Miranda was silent and couldn't say a word as she looked away from her. I was somewhat shocked myself that Miss Granger had thought all that, but she was right after all about most of it. When or if the Dark Lord ever comes back, as Albus has thought for years, I'm sure Albus will put me in charge to protect and look out for Miranda. Granger said as she was getting up, "Miranda, I would talk to Cho or Harry to see what has happened, but you didn't hear from me. Just think about what I said, okay? I'm not trying to hurt you more. I'm stating a fact of truth. You and the Snape are made for each other whether you see it or not." I sighed as I quickly walked away far enough so that Miss Granger couldn't see me as she walked out, and then after a couple of minutes, I walked in. I stood in the doorway of the wing, not sure if Miranda even wanted me there. I looked at her and she nervously looked at me. "I do, teacher, so we both know we can't avoid each other forever." She said quietly, "You can come in, Professor. It's fine." I walked over to her bed and sat down on the edge without saying a word. "How do you feel?" She looked at me. Better somewhat, still a bit shaky though. I don't know how much she knows about what occurred before she woke up. It felt like we were both nervous and scared. I took her hand sternly but softly. "I know the conversation that occurred. Don't worry, it's okay. I'm here and that's what matters. Nothing else." She faintly smiled and looked down sadly. I lifted her chin to make her look into my eyes. "I know things have not been good for a while. I cannot tell you how sorry I am for everything. I'm sorry for hurting you and saying to forget about me. But I am a dangerous person to be with. I already hurt you a few times and I don't want to hurt you again. Yes, I really care about you and may even love you, but I would also hate to see you lose a friend you care for." I gulped and asked, "Am I the reason you did what you did, Miranda? Be honest with me." "Partly, sir," she answered quietly. I raised my eyebrows. "Partly?" She nodded. "It wasn't just you, I swear. It was everything that happened so far that I truly wasn't thinking straight anymore. I got overwhelmed, tired, and hurt, and since you know how good I am with potions, I just had it with everything at the moment, and I'm deeply sorry for all of it." I remembered that she knew I had helped the Dark Lord kill her parents all those years ago. She looked at me, knowing what we were thinking, as I said, "Look, Miranda, I know you may hate me right now for killing your parents, but I had no choice. You and I both know that he's really powerful and could do anything if I just said no. He could have killed me right then and there if I found someone else who would have killed you too. I didn't mean to do it, and I didn't want to, as it was the last thing I wanted to do, but it was part of my job I had back then. I mouthed to your parents that I was sorry, and they nodded their heads before I killed them. I wasn't the only one there, as another Death Eater was to make sure it was done, along with the Dark Lord, who was using someone else's body at the time." "Wait, did you know either of my parents? Like, was my mom really a wizard?" "As far as I'm aware, yes, she was." She looked at me, realizing something, I guess. "I remember more. I remember you saying that and seeing you there that day. You were the dark-haired, tall wizard I had described seeing." I added, "And after the Death Eaters and the Dark Lord left, you were by your parents' side. I looked at your poor little self in a trance. You, 6 years of age, without parents. You were upset and crying. I took you into my arms and hugged you tightly while comforting you, saying that I was sorry. I decided to stay there with you, not wanting to leave you like that. I sat in a chair and helped you go to sleep. I looked into your beautiful little eyes as you stared back into my dark eyes. I knew how you were scared, upset, and worried. When you fell asleep, I wrapped you in the blanket, wrote a note to Mrs. Granger's family, and rang their doorbell in the early morning hours, explaining in the note what had happened, hoping they would take you in." I realized that Miranda had tears in her eyes at this point. I looked into her eyes again as she stared back into me. Her eyes soon widened in awe. You were there for me all along, Severus. I knew you looked familiar when I first arrived here. I didn't remember much of that night, but now I do. I remember everything, including when my parents gave me some advice and information." A tear slid down her cheek, then another one. "You cared for me since then, and yet 10 years later, you still do as you watch me grow up." I responded softly, "And I always will, no matter what happens, Miranda." She finally smiled, and I couldn't help but give her a small smirk back in return, as everything is the truth, and that's why I tend to have a soft spot for her. Then she intertwined my fingers with hers as I looked down, noticing I was holding her hand. "Again, Miranda, I am deeply sorry for everything I ever did to you. It's going to take time for everything, but I forgive you for your mistakes, Severus. I'm glad you told me the truth. I appreciate it. Even though I don't understand everything with my parents, you saved my life and looked for me, and I can't thank you enough for that." Again, we smiled softly at each other, noticing how she called me by my first name again and not by my last. I watched her yawn as I put her under the covers and lightly kissed her forehead. I got up to leave the wing, noting that she needed her rest. She grabbed my wrist, quickly stopping me. "Wait. Severus, please stay with me at least until I fall asleep. I don't want to be alone." She looked at me sadly as I sighed and climbed in with her. I know this would make her happy or bring her comfort, which is all I want, for her to be happy. I wrapped my arms around her as she snuggled against my chest, smelling me, and I could tell she felt better already. I chuckled at this as I stroked her hair and I felt her relax. I held her comfortably and said, "By the way, Miranda, happy late birthday." I kissed her forehead lightly again, and both of us eventually drifted off to sleep.